Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Vacosties of the Dark Edge of Light again, here with more from Disgaea. Quick little primer here. This time we are going to discuss the intricacies of Innocence, squads, and the Senate. So let's start out with arguably the most important thing ever to exist in Disgaea, and the whole point for going through items, Innocence. So the whole point of Innocence is to take these little dudes that are red angry faces and unlock them on items so that they double in size and can be used to move to other items to artificially change that item's stats. And it's literally any stat you can imagine. Anything from hit points, spell points, attack, hint, res, hit, speed, or giving status effects on attack, defending against status effects, increasing resistance about things, getting more money, getting more experience, getting more weapon mastery. It's literally everything. There are even Innocents out there that can increase the jump, critical, counterattack, basically anything you can think of you can increase. The next thing are squads. Now what squads are is they're groups that give you various things. So, for instance, the capture squad lets you capture enemies. Interrogation squad enhances the use of the interrogation room. Boot camp squad gets more experience to all the others by having the leader give some of that experience to them. So it's a great way of leveling people up without necessarily having to have them on the front lines. Channeling squad, same thing except for mana. This one I love because it's literally while people are inside your panel, they recover and do a bunch of other things. Oh yeah, and the other thing is, as you see here, you can put a bunch of people into it and even chuck enemies into it that you have taken as prisoners. Supply Depot I haven't done yet, and haven't done the Giant Killer Squad because you start out as a giant and that's very difficult to move around the board. Innocent rate. Basically, you're able to get more innocents into things, and you also gain other things in order to gain innocence even higher up. So definitely a squad I need to build up more. Foot Soldier just enhances stats by the size of the squad by 1%, and then you can make the squad bigger, which is pretty awesome. This one lets you have more accuracy in combos. We don't play with the Printy Squad. And then this one, literally, you get experience and mana without actually having to battle, which is kind of cool. This one lets you actually put people in the Senate, which apparently I now actually need to put a few more people into. Let's see. Do I have anyone who's not in a squad? I don't. That's kind of disturbing. And I need to put somebody into that one too. Good grief. Apparently I've got to adjust a few things here and there, but that's okay. But the other benefit to that is there is an ability called Squad Attack. This one. Now, the interesting thing about this particular move is literally every single member of your squad attacks at once. You can use it usually once per battle per squad, which is pretty awesome. And it lets you rack up some really crazy damage with some really crazy animations, so it's totally worth it. Now, the last bit of stuff is here, the strategy assembly. Alright, now this is one of the big meat and potato pieces of the game as far as the micromanagement goes. Basically, in here, you're able to do all kinds of different things, okay? you can do simple things like change characters, colors, that kind of stuff. But even more importantly, this is where you can reincarnate. Now, one of the big things that does is literally lets you start over from level 1, but with higher base stats, so it's a way to boost stat growth even further. You can give things to friends online, which is kind of cool. You can do better items in a store. Things like double mana, triple XP, all kinds of stuff like that. You can also do some of these crazy things, which I don't know why you'd want to do some of them. This one actually lets you increase magic change time, which we'll get into once we start getting into the actual fights. This one lets you challenge a really hard opponent, which, oh my god, no. And then these things let you move things around, condense power fragments or magic extracts, which we'll get into a bit later. And then these things let you schmooze with the various Senate parties in order to have them on your side. And then you can actually buy a trophy in the game, which I have no idea why, but I think it technically gives you an ending. Basically, the further you get into the game, the more things you can do, but some of the things you're going to do the most are better or worse items at the store in order to give yourself better things to buy. You're going to reincarnate people a lot. And then every now and then, you'll probably do that for online connectivity. And in later game, you'll play some of these things. Better bonuses are actually one of the really useful things to get much better bonus items, especially on later maps. And that's pretty much most of the micromanaging basics, at least. Now, one thing we are quickly going to do is I did see one of our groups was done their job, so we're going to go check that out quickly. Which I believe was this one.
This is boring, dude.
So we got a report, which we kicked the butt out of some people, which is good. We discovered a new gate to another player's world, which is kind of cool. Let's see, Spring of Healing. And then we accidentally destroyed the world. And we will keep that. Now, what we can do here is we're actually able to choose items, okay? So what we're going to do here is we are going to unselect that one so we can sell it. We'll keep the other one. We'll always keep the prisoners because they're useful. And then we got a new place to check out. So that does mean that we just got some people back. So we're going to go over here.
Let's fix you up.
We're going to heal them up. And then most likely send them right back out.
What?
I like to have 2 teams going on the various maps at once if we can. So let's see. Let's send people to Spark's Netherworld. Why not? Sounds fun. Now you'll notice it won't let you send out the core story characters, but it will let you send out these extra overlords you can get. So the more overlords you can get, the more guys like that you can actually send out into the field. So we're going to send Headler. And a couple of our dudes down here. Again, it's a way for them to get some extra experience, and another thing I like to do is send out some of the people who are technically duplicates, like Neville. Yes, I named him after the wrestler. Let's see, let's also send out Bob. It's been tough to get him levels lately. There we go. Alright. So that's some of the really core basics here, but now let's look a little bit harder at items and start crying. So there's 2 major ways other than just doing battle to level up and increase your power. One of the ways is here, Cara World, and we're going to do some Cara Worlds, don't worry. Basically what this does, it lets you literally level up the basic stats of your characters. A little confusing, but at least you don't actually have to go through standard levels to do that. It's now a board game interesting kind of thing. Then we come over here to Item World, and we find out that if we go in here, you'll notice that I can literally go into any of the 500 and some items I currently have in my bag. Well, 474, close to 500. The only ones I can't go into are these shards here. Okay. Now, you even have an assembly in here that you can go into to, at any point you want, up to a certain number in order to pass things inside an item. The things you have options on, things like increasing the actual stats that are on the item. You can add unique Innocence, okay, which is very interesting. You can change the item looks, basically to any other item of the same type. Change its name, so if you find an item you really like, you can actually name it. And as you see, you can change the stats pretty substantially. I mean, at this point, it's early enough in my playthrough that there's not really any point in doing that yet, but it is one thing you can do. Then you also are able to get prizes based on how far you've gone into items overall. And you can even exchange points, okay? So basically, I can pay into items in order to get item points to use against the item assembly, okay? Because that's what requires, instead of mana, it requires item points. And we'll get into the actual item worlds in a little bit. That's where, again, most of your meat and potatoes time in the game is going to be spent, is in those item worlds leveling up items. But now, what do I mean by leveling up items? So now let's take a look at items on one of the characters. We'll start here with Kilia. So, each character is able to equip 4 items, a weapon and 3 pieces of armor. Now, as you see, human or demon type, non-monsters, have the ability to have a main weapon and a sub-weapon. Monsters also do, but there's not really as much point because each monster type literally has a specific type. They're either a physical attacker or a special attacker. So they're going to want either the monster weapon or the other side of monster weapons. So these are for spell slingers, while these are for physical attackers. Now on each item that you're looking at, let's see here, you're able to see a lot of different stats. So each item has a standard stat reel. It has which innocents are on it, and remember, if they're red, they're not unlocked, so they'll be even more powerful later down the road. Over on the right-hand side, way over, you're able to see what the change will be, what resistances it has, and how it'll change other stats, like critical hit rate, counterattack rate, that kind of thing. Now, an item has a bunch of different base numbers. So if we look, say, at this devil ring here, you'll see that it's a legendary item. That's why it glows gold. At least that's what my non-colorblind friends tell me. It's also got more space for Innocence on it, and you can actually unlock even more space for the first time. You can actually get, I believe, up to 8 Innocence slots now, instead of being maxed out at a maximum of 6. You also see that it has a rarity, a level, and then the overarching rarity of it being legendary. So, believe it or not, that's actually kind of important. See, 2 legendary items won't necessarily be the same rarity, and I actually went through a little bit of work to get these guys all to be level 50 items. So as you see, they all have rarity 50, which is why they have the same bonus over there and become even more powerful. But if we look at somebody else, let's see. So like here, 3 brawny muscles, all the same item, but they have 3 different rarities, so they don't link up like that. It may be, though, that the default rarity at this point, at least for the golds I've gotten so far, is 50, which actually doesn't surprise me too much. Now, what's the difference between rarity and level? Well, that's the other really fun part. You see, level, you can go in and level up, and it literally will increase the stats of the item. While the actual rarity, and here's an example of one having a rarity other than 50, but it looks like just because they're all legendaries, it's allowing them to have the same bonus, which is actually a little new. So in this case, I have 3 rares on, and they get the same bonus. So one of the key items is, as you see, I've leveled up this level, well, this thimble, to level 51. So what does that mean exactly? Well, right now, as you can see, this thimble has 67 attack and 67 speed, which are the core elements to fist weapons. But why don't we go over here and see that normally a thimble has 3 and 3. So literally those 51 levels gained me a ton of attack and speed onto an ordinary, everyday, little tiny thimble. And as you can imagine, if I were to try to level up a power knuckle, I'd get even more. So why don't I just level up the power knuckle? Well, let's take a look at what happens if I tried to go into one. Because here's how that works. As you see right now, if I went into the thimble, I'd be starting on floor 41, and my residence would be around level 5. So that's the type of enemies that I'd be facing, level 5 or above, somewhere in that route. If I go to this one, which is a higher level one, you'll notice it starts at level 9 at floor 1. So if I go down to the best fist I've currently got, floor 1 starts at level 22, and it increases exponentially. So floor 2 on that one will be a much higher jump than one floor would be on a lower ranked item. So that's another thing, is not only do you have common, rare, and legendary, not only do you have level, and not only do you have rarity, but in addition to that, you have what rank the item is. Basically, how expensive is it to purchase? And there's 50 ranks of each type. So literally here you'd have thimble rank 1, rubber gloves rank 2, so on and so forth. And as you see currently in my shops, I'm able to purchase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different ranks out of the 50 that exhibit for each item. So it gets a little complex. One of the biggest things that you end up looking for, of course, is the innocence that you want to build onto things. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So right now on Kilia's weaponry, I've got statisticians and gladiators to give him more experience and more outright attack. Down here you'll see I haven't done much, but I did manage to find things that had a good bit of statisticians on them. And an amnesiac if he switches over to his bow. But by the same term, if we go over here to my big guy with the axe, you'll notice that I've put pretty much every kind of status effect on. Amnesiac causes forget, which prevents an enemy from using skills. Drainer actually just flat out makes their abilities weaker. It literally imposes a penalty to their stats. Witch Doctor is able to poison them. Shrinker literally makes them tiny. Alchemist, Witch Doctor paralyzes Alchemist poisons. That's what it is. And then Marksman is to help offset the fact that the axe weapons in general actually make it harder to hit. And Manager's to give him more mana because he's the head of the Mana Club. And as you see on that particular item, I have 7 Innocence slots. Let's see here. If we go over here, you'll see I have Hypnotist, so sleep, on my Thief, which basically the big thing there makes it a little bit easier to get a hold of other people's weapons and such. And I'm building Marksman onto them as well in order to help boost the accuracy, again, for doing stealing. So each and every guy that you use is going to have some things that you want to specialize on them with. Now, the next question everybody usually asks about this game is, why the heck would you play with so many people? Well, there's a couple different reasons for that. One is that each of the different classes has unique things, so it's good to have at least one of each class in the game just to learn what it is and isn't good for. And the other big thing is, by having one of each class, it gives me the most options for any given situation, and it gives me the most guides to be able to get through Item World, because the fact of the matter is, you'll lose people during an Item World run. You're just going to. It's pretty much impossible, unless you're fighting way below your level, to get through a full 10 floors without losing anybody. So make sure you've still got people on your roster that are going to still be able to affect a win for you in the long run. So right now what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a Cara World, just because we can. And let's see. Let's get in there with Kilia, because we haven't recently. Now see, if we tried to do that, we'd be cremated. So we're going to try and do a small world. We've done it a few times, so that's why it's all the way up to Resident level 24. Because the small size, or Demon, is based on your level. Demon Lord is based on your level times 5. So, we'll do small. Now, the whole key to Cara World is that you're actually trying to boost the base stats of your character, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to view the map here. Now, you've got a couple different things. You've got turn increasers, shops where you can literally buy stuff to help you out in the area, random events, red, which are usually negative events, blue random events, which are usually neutral, and green, which are beneficial. And then you've also got enemies here and there. Now those enemies are actually going to have stat bonuses for dropping them, okay? Then you've also got just flat out stat ups, which will be randomized. You've got treasure chests, which could be just about anything. And then you've got actual just flat out damage tiles, as well as warps and white events, which are usually weird. Let's see here. You've also got HP heals. And your goal is to get out the goal panel before you run out of turns. Okay? So it's kind of like a game, and as you go through, you'll see what you're going to get as far as bonus stats or even bonus aptitudes. So we're going to go ahead and play. 6 squares. And you know what? Let's go that way. Why not? I got a 5. Boom! Kick your butt. So we're going to get some int, and as you see, we're going to get a point of int now. So boom. There's 6 more. We're going to go ahead and attack him.
Let's go!
Oh, I only got a 1 that time, but it was still enough to beat him. So now we're going to get a res, and we're going to go 2 more squares, and something bad's going to happen.
Great.
I get 1 slot for 2 turns, so... Well, you know what? We'll do that. Do we want to ride the Mothman Transport?
Let me thank you.
Sure. Well, we'll have to get off there. We were forced to take a mysterious medicine. HP aptitude went down by 1.
Let's go!
But you know what? We're gonna kick the snot out of that cat. And we couldn't actually lose. That's actually an important thing. You can't lose aptitude, which is actually something very important. You can end up losing aptitude or hit points or whatever that you've gained in the map, but you can't end the map with less than you started it with, which is important. Well, that gives us more turns, so why not?
Let me thank you.
I'll take an extra turn. So, 4 movement tiles. Let's go ahead and attack him.
Let's go.
I'm actually kind of curious what that white space is, so let's check it out.
Go.
And pockets were wide open, so they stole money. Of course they did. 2, 3, 4. Well, that'll heal HP, but doesn't really matter. There we go. We got a 4x2, which is literally an ability to use an item instead of using a turn. There we go. What do we got here? Hey, mana gain. That's kind of cool. Alright, well, that's good.
Let's go.
And I succeeded. Defense will be added.
Great.
I took some damage. It's not a big deal. 1, well, we'll grab the blues. Nothing happened.
Come on.
Well, let's grab a tile there. 3 more turns. That's kind of awesome. Let's grab another white event. Oh, man.
Great.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Come on.
And 2 more turns. Okay. Let's see. Now we start getting into a point where we want to start getting some extra turns in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure, why not? Don't ride. 1. Beautiful. We get attack up. And absolutely, 4 attack. Nice. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Nice. Got some more mana. 3, 4, 5, 6. Well. There we go. That's what I wanted. Res up.
Let me thank you.
We've got 7 turns left. There we go. Some more mana. Cool.
Let me thank you.
1, 2, 3, no, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Another stat up.
I win.
HP up. Cool.
Let me thank you.
5 turns left. 4, 5. There's another stat up. And that's all the big stat ups right in this area. So I think at this point we're going to call it. And Mothman Transport.
Let me thank you.
And there we go. We're going to get off there and go ahead and enter the goal. So there we go. And so now you're going to see what the next thing is. To praise your health, I'll reward you with something. And now this is your chance to do something even more than what you just did. So the different options are you can, again, up attack. You can up the different aptitudes. You can get another ability level. More movement, more jump height, more throw distance, more counterattacks, more critical rate. A skill scroll. And either weapon or armor attributes. Or sorry, this is actually an ability scroll and this is a skill scroll. But one of the more useful ones is actually this one here. This gives you more space for abilities.
Thank you.